All right, hey everybody, and welcome to Chiu Stream, 90-minute art challenge with me, Bobby Chiu, and my co-host, Masae Seki. Awesome, and today is gonna be a 90 Mac challenge. So, what is that? What is the 90 Mac? Well, let me show you. Okay, hold on one second here. There we go. So if you go to tumblr.com and you search for 90 Min Art Challenge, then you'll find the various challenges throughout the weeks. And so today we have a fuzzy squirrel, and then we have these ones and so forth. And each one of these has a video to go along with it, so you can see how we paint it. And a bunch of times we also have a guest that comes on to paint it with us, so you can see how multiple people tackle the same challenge. Yeah, it's been really educational for us, so I'm sure it would be educational for anyone that's watching. And then what do you do with the challenge after? Well, you upload it to Instagram, hashtag it 90min art challenge. That way we can all see all the awesome entries, and every week we show a few. So here's one from the last 90 Mac.
Oh, hey Bobby. Jamie on YouTube says we can't see anything, just the title card.
Oh, okay. My bad. Here we go. Sorry. So Tumblr, YouTube, you know what? I had some other fancier settings that I thought I could handle and I forgot, so that's why. Instagram, hashtag 90min art challenge, and a few fun examples. This one's beautiful, very different,
Oh, nice design.
right? This one was a tough one. So this is the photograph, this is the painting.
Oh, good job.
Really
That
great.
looks great.
That one is very tough. And then here's another one of the tough Jurassic Park study that we did. This one, love it. I love how this person also used the pencil, it seems, just like what we did.
Yeah, it looks like a good mix of both.
And then we have this one here, which is
Ah,
beautiful.
I
Look
love
at the
that.
lovely multi-colors that this person has used. Like that.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's like it's not too overpowering,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
it's like all in the same value.
and the person really got the face well, right? Like that
Oh,
face, I remember it was difficult. And
I
then
remember in that 90 back with Cynics, he was saying, as long as you get like the eye, this focus area all like nice and everything else can kind of like be a bit looser, but it'll still work. And this like totally works.
this was fantastic, really. Like the multi colors interacting and everything, it was beautifully done. And then
Hmm.
we have this one, which is a group one, which is wonderful. Um, we paint with Magma Studio for these 90 Mac challenges. That way you can paint together, and that's what this person is doing. You can see that there are actually 8 different people painting with the reference right in the middle. So there you go. And the other thing is that we stream off of well, we stream off of YouTube, but we're all on the Lightbox Expo Discord. So you can go to, and it says down at the bottom of the screen there, join discord.gg/lightboxexpo. And you can see here that people are already doing the challenge. Let's see if I could get in there. Right? They're all painting away frantically. It's awesome. So it's it's always great, like when you paint with other people. It's so
Hmm.
much more engaging, so much more fun. So there you go. All right. So on to the actual painting that we did. Right. So you're painting on the right. I will be painting on the left. and we're gonna have 90 minutes to paint this little squirrel. How fun.
Yeah, great reference that you found. I remember you brought it up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so
Oh.
cute. Like very simple, especially the shape. It's literally like a teardrop, and then these two little things sticking out, and then all the little details. So really fun, but also at the same time slightly challenging, just because of the lighting.
Absolutely, yeah. The lighting is, it's almost like deceiving, how challenging this could be, because, like you said, the lighting, it's a overcast lighting, so that can tend to make things feel a little flatter. It can, it's a lot easier when you have some strong light coming in, dividing the indirect lighting from the direct lighting. But this doesn't
Mhm.
really have it as much, right?
Yeah, there's no like crisp shadow light shapes that you can really like lay down in the beginning. This is more about I guess the subtleties, and more about like the subtle plane changes, especially because it's such a like a round creature.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention before I forget is, tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a very special guest on Clubhouse. It's actually one of my mentors from when I first started, the person that gave me my first, yeah, I would want to say my first break. It was Lauren Lanning. Oddworld creator Lauren Lanning will be on Discord, and on Clubhouse. We're going to have Clubhouse. We've been doing these talks through the Animation Industry Club, and you can find us on there. Or if you don't have Clubhouse, the app, because it's only for iPhone, iPad, then you can come back to discord.gg/lightboxexpo, and you can listen to the whole entire conversation there. Lauren Lanning, you know why he's my mentor? Because Oddworld has, he's an artist, but also a creator, also a very savvy business person, also very, very smart. Somehow made Oddworld the video game and got to keep all the rights. That doesn't happen.
Hmm.
You pitch a game, it gets made by so and so, you do not keep those rights. Yet he did. And he just released, not too long ago, his newest game, Oddworld Soulstorm. So, got a chance to bring him on to the talk, or onto Discord and Clubhouse tomorrow. So, definitely check in for that. And then the other thing I want to mention is a workshop, online workshops. We've been doing a bunch of them and they've been super fun. The next one is with Jonathan Hardesty. So I'm just going to show that trailer real quick right here. All right, and that's going to be this weekend, the 24th. It's going to be a little paint and draw. You get assets, you paint along with John as he explains this and that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, John is definitely one of those artists that I learned how to paint as well. I mean, I have many people that I learned from, but he's the one that kind of made me understand about like um, light and shadow, and how to really look at it in an abstract way, as in like think of this as like a pizza slice beside a like a dog face that you can kind of see here. And I was like, oh, when you see it that way, that makes a lot of sense, rather than trying to just look at the edges of forms, which is really cool.
Yeah, he really got me out of painting so clean. There's like a certain kind of painting where you do this very clean, you do a line drawing and then you tone down the opacity, you do another line drawing that's super tight, then you do some flat colors. otherwise known as flats, in there, and then you're able to paint and draw without going outside the lines. And then you make everything just super clean and methodical. And John really got
Mm,
me out of that, because one thing I always loved, that it was harder for me to understand in the beginning, was how some painters will paint very chaotically, right? In the beginning, it's like these really rough, crazy brushstrokes, like Richard Schmidt or something like that. And then it materializes. Out of the
mm.
chaos comes this beauty. And you're just like, how did that happen? That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And what's really cool is like his story of how I guess you would consider him like a late bloomer artist, right? So because he did learn a bit later, he knew how to learn quickly. So I think just like the way he explains things makes it very easy to digest, and I like that's kind of like the great part about like you know learning a bit quote unquote later as an artist is just you just know how to take things in and really like process it and put it out there.
You know what's also kind of cool about his story and learning later is that I feel like, a lot of us, we learn early, whatever, we learn on time or whatever that, what that might be. Um, and then after we're done school, we go, okay, we're done learning. And we don't really learn as much, right? A lot of us, we use the, I want to say excuse, even though a lot of people, they don't think of it as an excuse, but the excuse of, oh, well, I'll learn on the job. I will do
Mm,
jobs and therefore I'm learning and then my education will continue. Yes, you will learn. Just like if you're a basketball player and you keep playing games, oh, I'm gonna learn by constantly playing basketball games. Yeah, you'll learn, right? But you really, 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 really learn when you do both. When you do the
mm,
jobs and you're like consciously doing exercises, consciously doing drills like these, they don't have to be boring drills. They can be really fun. But just constantly doing
mm.
these kind of things, that these were the things that got you to that level where you got that entry level job or you got that whatever job, right?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's kind of like well, if you think of athletes, or in a sense we are that. Like we kind of have to train that side of our muscle just so that when we are in the game, we're not gonna we're gonna be relying on our practices and let it be in our subconscious rather than frantically being like, oh no, how do I shoot a ball. It's like, okay, my hand has to be here, and like I have to bend this much. Like, no, you're not gonna have that time to think of it when you're in the game. You gotta really like hone that skill before the before game time. So same as painting, it's like it is nice to just learn, or at least practice doing studies and knowing how things react to like certain lights. And then when the time comes of like, oh, please paint this painting, it's like, okay, great, I already have that in my pocket, so I don't need to frantically like learn how to do it on the job.
Yeah, and there's also something about art that, it's so elusive because if you're good, you won't like it, and you put it down for a while, you won't remain good, right? You have to keep it going.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I know if,
Can you elaborate on that?
like, there was a point where I could do characters. I felt I could do characters very, very well because I was doing them so much that when I look at something, I could see the character right before I draw it.
Mm.
Now it's harder because I don't have that much practice anymore.
Mm.
Like that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? Or Looking at any kind of tone in the room and trying to think, okay, where on the color picker would that tone be? What hue is that? What, you know,
Mm.
HSB sliders. I think it was Arthur Fong where he said he trained himself to look at any kind of little patch of tone and see the HSB slider in his head and what, not just like what color is that, but where would
Mm-hmm.
the little dials go on my HSB slider? That's hardcore.
Mm, yeah, I think he mentioned that in the interview you did with him a few years back.
Oh,
But
there you go. See, I already forgot. I already forgot.
yeah, so if anyone wants to listen to that. But that is a good way of kind of like painting without actually painting. You know what I mean? It's like just kind of looking and really analyzing without having the that extra thing that you have to worry about. So
Hey,
I guess it's like it's fun.
and if you don't mind, let's analyze what you're painting right there. Like, what are your thoughts as you're doing that? Because it does look a little abstract at the moment.
Um, I, this was a while back, but let me, if I remember my past self doing this, I think I was trying to just get the overall values right because once I put in the squirrel, I think because it's so bright compared to like everything else, I might I feel like I wouldn't get the background right. So I think I was trying to nail it on the spot and then kind of like, you know, not forget about it, but at least be able to focus on the squirrel and kind of follow what's going on with the background because um, maybe like trying to put those two worlds together. It's nice to kind of establish something first and then go to the fun part.
Yeah, it's interesting how you go about it because, obviously now we could start to see the pine needles and everything. But in the very beginning, they were very circular shapes. So it was much more abstract.
Yeah, I think it's nice to just like lay down things as like big strokes and then add in all the fine detail because once you start adding the fine details, then you're gonna want to add the fine details like everywhere. So it's essentially making big to small.
What I ended up doing in the beginning was I used a textured brush so that it wouldn't be too clean. There's a lot going on in the background, so I just figured it'd be using a textured brush creates a bit more noise, creates a bit more of what it might feel like in the background there, all that foliage, all that stuff going.
Yeah.
Now,
I
oh, go ahead.
sorry, I was just gonna add I always find green such a hard color. There's something about it where it's like sometimes it's leaning more towards the blue and then there's times where it's like really in the yellows like if you look on the HSB it's like oh wow it looks like it's in the center of the yellow hue strip but it looks green. Like to this day
Totally.
I still have a bit of trouble with figuring it out.
Totally. Green and purple. Those are the ones where I'm like, it's not. I think it's maybe different reasons than you because for me, greens and purples, it's just so easy to get too saturated,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's that.
It's very easy to make it look artificial.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. You were gonna bring something up.
Oh no. Yes, I was gonna bring up our Discord community today. It's just Masae and I, so we need the Discord community to come in and chat with us and keep the conversations going. If you have any questions, feel free to just unmute your mic. Sorry, my dishwasher is going. If you heard that,
I thought that was the toilet.
it's my dishwasher.
It's like,
But yeah,
where are you right now?
if you have any questions, let me know.
I was thinking, who is bringing us to the toilet now?
Hey, it's like bring us everywhere.
This is the quarantine
Was just on the
stream.
right
We have
time, the
no
sound.
idea what's happening. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be super awkward and gross. So I apologize if anybody thought that for a second. It's definitely not. It's my weird
It's
dishwasher.
the
Just
good thing
finishing.
about Discord is like, oh, there's so many people. Maybe we can
I'll blame
say
it
it's
on
like,
somebody else.
yeah. But if anyone wanted to add or have any questions on Discord,
Yeah, or we have Slido.
I've
Oh
got
yeah, go ahead.
I've got it. So hi. So I'm starting art school this September, and I was just wondering because you guys have been doing this as a job for years, and you still seem to have that sort of passion and love for art. And I see professionals and even people who are still in university who seem to have kind of lost that, and they kind of see it as just like a job. So I was wondering if you had any advice for kind of keeping that going while you do it as a job.
Go for it, Masae.
I think for me, listening to other professional artists like on YouTube and like workshops and obviously taking classes. I think just hearing that that kind of feel makes me want to learn more because it's like, oh, professionals don't stop. Other things are like just talking to other students or like other artists, even on Discord, just talking about art helps me like want to keep going. Bobby, do you have anything?
Yeah, you know, I really find like a really good recipe is when you are always striving for more, but you have a lot of gratitude for what you have. You know, being okay with what you have, being happy with what you have, but always striving for more. You know, because I've also seen where people are always striving for more and they're never satisfied with what they have. And they lead lives of, I feel, less happiness, right? Less enjoyment, which makes me kind of question, what is the purpose? What is what is the thing that will make that person happy? You know what I mean? Like, also, when you look at some people that are really, really successful, many times the ones that are extremely successful are only successful in that area. And then there's other areas of their lives that are complete failures, like maybe parenthood, maybe health, maybe whatever, because they spent so much effort in one section. So nowadays, I feel like that happiness, that longevity of your enthusiasm and all that stuff, a lot of it lies in the word balance, the balance of things. And the best attitude is one of gratitude. So just be thankful for what you got. We're all living. That's a miracle in itself, that we're all living on this little rock flying through space at like tremendous speeds, and somehow we're actually able to connect as well. We all got almost like this electronic telepathy now, where I could send a message through the ether to Masae or to anybody else, and they will know exactly what I'm saying, which is amazing. Like when you come to think about it, there's a lot to be very thankful for. And if you're an artist, shoot, that's your job. You just paint and draw. Like, really, when it breaks down to it, yes, we have to deal with a lot of maybe clients and things like that might not be the most enjoyable thing, but we're painting and drawing. We're not doing jobs where you're not enjoying it, right? Like everybody got into this job because we actually enjoyed it at some point or another.
Mm-hmm. Definitely easy to forget.
Yeah. I it's like there's professions out there where it's like how many people truly enjoyed whatever, picking up garbage or mopping up floors or doing accounting or whatever. Maybe accounting, maybe mopping up floors and stuff. You get time on your yeah, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
There's also questions coming in from Slido, so why don't we go to one of the Slido questions now? This one is from Anonymous. I have been drawing 10 plus hours a day along with a Schoolism subscription. Is it even possible to get good fast like this? I'm trying so hard to get a job next year. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, people say 10,000 hours. You gotta spend 10,000 hours to get to a professional level of anything. Um, I don't believe that. Maybe, it's a nice thing kind of to think about, but you can accelerate that process by the effort that you put in, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do 10,000 hours spaced among like 10 years, are you going to get good professionally? Meh, I don't know. Not nearly as much as if you did 10,000 hours in a smaller amount of time. And even less hours if while you're doing those hours, you are concentrating like crazy, right? Like as
Mm.
if this is all that's in your world. This is all that matters. You're not thinking about dinner tonight. You're not thinking about whatever. It's just it's just getting better. It's just concentrating on making that thing how you see it in your head or whatever you're working on.
I think slowing down also helps um getting good. I always bring it back to like, sports and stuff just because I enjoy sports and all that myself. But especially with working out, like you can follow a routine. You can follow like a workout video and just mindlessly follow it. But it's not as good as actually like really like focusing on that muscle area and trying to engage that muscle, because like once you do that it makes the results like come a lot faster than to just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna raise my arm like up and down. It's like, no, you got to really like think about the movement, think about like how fast and slow you're going, because your muscles are gonna work harder the more you focus on it. So
Oh, I love
that's
that.
kind of like
I love how you went the
that's how I
exact opposite, It's like
so yeah,
it's so
there's
true
definitely
though.
like two ways. Yeah, and in the end, it is balance.
Totally. But yeah, I love how you went totally the opposite direction. And it makes so much sense, right? Like, I find sometimes if I let myself rest a couple of days and then I try to do push ups again or whatever, they actually got easier, right? Because you
Mm,
just gave yourself like a day or a day and a half to recover.
mhm.
Painting, same thing. You know what? A lot of times I like to paint more than one thing at the same time. I don't know about you, but I like to do that because when when things get slower with the one painting, I just jump onto the other painting. I'm looking at it with fresh eyes, and then I know exactly what to do next.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to do that. I have like many things kind of floating around, hopping one to the other, and it's kind of nice because then once you go back to the original one, you see all the things that you learned from previous painting.
Something else is that when you're working on a painting for a while, and then you finish it, and you don't have another painting that you're kind of like you've already started, it's hard to start a new painting, isn't it?
It is. I guess it's like the whole motion of like, okay, I gotta think of an idea, I gotta think of a composition. Oh, what's like, what am I gonna put in it? And I think that's the heavy lifting part. It's it's hard. That's kind of like the meat of the painting is a story and idea.
I remember when I graduated school, I did my short film, and how many people were like, "Oh man, I'm gonna do another short film," and none of them did, none of them, right? Because it's such a daunting thing to do, and sometimes, on a shorter scale, anyways, that's kind of like what it is, what it's like for a more daunting kind of painting. Once you're done, it's like so much harder to start another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also like once you're done, you're just like, okay. You look around, it's like, oh, right, I have to start again.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're always starting, if you always have multiple things starting, you finish one, you look at the other three things that are like at different stages of completeness. And it's way easier to that's not my toilet. It's much easier to keep going.
Yeah,
It's generally
totally.
quiet, the dishwasher, but I don't know. I never noticed that until I started streaming. But anyway.
No worries. It's a nice background noise.
Cool. Probably not, but thanks for saying that. Does anybody else have
Yeah, like go to
anything they want to?
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Thank you. I had this interesting thing happen to me in which the place that I use as a studio got flooded, and I had to move everything to a very, very small place in my room. So one thing that happened because of that is that my whole process of I'm gonna sit down and start creating something changed drastically, because your whole environment basically changed, right? So my question is, to you guys, to you too, what tips or what, like, I don't know, things that you do could be like good practices to just sit down and actually put out the work, like, okay, I need to focus on this, and I'm gonna work on this the whole day. What do you think is like a good way of approaching that in this kind of situation?
Oh, you just keep it in front of your face as much as you can.
Yeah.
Like, make it as accessible as you can.
I
Go ahead, Masae.
it's the whole out of sight, out of mind mentality. If it's not there in front of you, you're gonna forget about it. And I mean that's why you can kind of see all my art supplies here. It's like I just started it a few months ago, where I just threw all my art supplies in front of me so that I actually can get to it.
Yeah, I don't even need to go on with that one. And I agree with everything Masae was saying.
I think, yeah, just making it so easy that your brain doesn't have to think about it. Like perhaps maybe it's not traditional stuff, but if it's digital stuff, it's like have your Cintiq like ready there so that you can just like pick it up and do work. Have Photoshop there, have your files open, make shortcuts so that you can access your references and stuff, quickly. I think just like making that like workflow a lot more straight might help with getting back into it.
Yeah, for me, it like sometimes that still doesn't make me want to do it. So I actually, I said it a couple of times, but I picture kind of like there's me, and then there's like me as in the mind, the spirit, and it lives inside this body, which is called Bobby. you know, and like sometimes Bobby doesn't want to do the things that I want him to do. So I kind of just picture, you know, kind of talking to Bobby and going, no, you know, like not now's not the time to be lazy. You got to get up. You got to do something. You got to you know, kind of punch that laziness, that lazy voice in the face and go, stop talking to me because you talk too loud and you talk too much.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It reminds me of that. Oh shoot, I forgot what that book was called.
Oh, I know. Eat That
The War
Frog.
of Art. Or yeah, that too. There's also the War of Art, where it's like you're thinking of it as like a resistance, like something else that is holding you back, rather than blaming it on yourself. And it definitely takes like this pressure off of you because it's not you, it's this thing that's holding you back, and for you, it's that other Bobby.
Yeah, isn't it though? You know, when you think about it, it's like we have these different versions of ourselves, right? You don't maybe you don't eat enough, you don't eat on time, you transform into the other version of yourself. Things like that. Just being aware of that, I feel, is not only interesting but can be very powerful too.
Yeah, I agree.
Getting control
Bobby,
of
I
self.
actually thought of something that I learned the other day, which was the split mind theory. You ever heard of that?
No.
Well, it's a study. It wasn't just a theory that scientists were able to separate people's minds into their left hemisphere and the right hemisphere and have them completely separate from each other. They weren't interacting, and they were doing completely different things. So, like, one side of the mind would be going to like open something, and then the other hand would be going to stop that hand.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So separating your mind um, as that sort of scientific example shows just how much you have very different personalities in your brain working against each other.
Yeah,
It's like the
that makes
anger.
total sense. You know, last week I had so many, well, last couple weeks I've had so many things going on at the same time. I found everything was falling out of my head. Like, you say one thing to me, you say a second thing to me, like 2 minutes later, I forgot about the first thing. And I really felt like it was like it was like this rap concert I went to uh, a while back, where it was like there's the singer on the stage, but then there's like 50 of his friends on the stage too, and it's like there's too much going on. I can't concentrate. I forgot about what this person was saying because there's like 20 other people on there rapping, and like 20 others on there just kind of jumping around and distracting me. I've had better analogies in the past, I think, but that was the first thing I thought of. It's like it's just hard to concentrate. That's why meditation, that's the thing. The only tough part is when things get really busy, when you really need to meditate, generally those are like the hardest times to sit down and actually do it because you're busy and you just can't help but to think of all those things that you got to do that day.
I find writing helps, or I guess journaling. It's kind of like putting down your thoughts, because I remember there's like times when I'm so angry and I'm upset about something, and then I write it down on paper. But as I'm writing, in my mind, that other side of me is just telling me like, "Are you sure you feel that way? You're writing all this down, but like, what about this?" And it's kind of nice having that. Like, it's kind of almost like the paper and my mind is having a conversation, and then I pick the side that I believe that I am, and that really helps.
have you ever used it kind of like to your advantage, just going back into your journal and be like, no, you did this to me this day, whatever.
Not yet. Yeah, I generally don't read back at my entries, but
You know what
that'd be
I love though,
interesting.
because I love journaling as well. I haven't done it recently enough, so that's a good reminder. But
Mm.
I was talking with somebody. Oh, I was talking with Ian McKegg when he was in Toronto. Remember in last year doing the schoolism class? So
Yeah.
I was talking to him about journaling or something, and then I went back into my journal and I found the very first day I met him, and then I read
Mm.
it to him, and it's like, wow, today I met Ian McKegg, blah, blah, blah. I bought like three of his books. I only needed one, but I bought three just for the drawings or something. Um, yeah, it's always, I love journaling. It's fun.
Yeah. It's like a throwback, or you're reading a part of your past. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to join in, ask anything, or?
I wanted to ask a question about painting.
Yeah.
It's that I've been drawing most of my life, like with pencils and on paper. But then when I did the transition to painting, like I realized it was like another world. So like I try, like I sometimes paint, but I get confused like how it works because it's a different
Yeah.
place.
What do you think the question is? Is there a question in there that we can kind of define?
What would the process of painting go?
Wow,
Like what?
that's a big question.
And digital. Yes.
I guess we could speak about how the process of how we learned how to paint, because there's so many
Oh
different
yeah,
kinds of painting and stuff, right?
yeah.
Yeah, for me, I remember exactly. It was first learning how to draw with structure, right? Being able to draw lines and tones and create things that don't just feel like they represent something three-dimensional, but something that feels three-dimensional, as if there's like a little window in your paper and you're seeing into this other dimension of this thing that is three dimensions. Then using light to do that, right? And I remember using Conte a lot, life drawing, things like that, where all of a sudden I'm shading a lot more, right? And that started to feel like painting. And then from there, I started to understand, okay, if I brought in a white piece of Conte in there, I could start painting in the highlights, some lighter areas, and start to understand values. And then from there, starting to understand colors, which took a very long time, which, you could bypass, I would say, by taking like Sam Nielsen's class on fundamentals of lighting, or the Tonko House class of painting with light and color. That really, really helps to explain things. But actually, Cody's class, start your journey. I think that one is probably more for you, because that one is very much for beginners. And he's worked on a million things, as well as like blockbuster live action to animated stuff to games. Um, that's how I'd go about it now. I'd learn how various people do their paintings, hopefully have some instructional videos and exercise that I could do, so that I'm not just mucking around in the dark trying to figure things out.
Mm. Um, I was just trying to think back of when I first started digital painting, especially, and I think it's one of those things where you have so many tools and so many buttons, and just you're just overwhelmed. I'm just thinking more of like Photoshop and the digital, that kind of realm, but I think just learning the tools and starting simple would help. Like don't don't have too many brushes. Don't mess with too many adjustment layers. And I think once you kind of get familiar with the program itself, then yeah, like getting into everything that Bobby was talking about will be a bit easier rather than trying to juggle a few things at a time. And Magma's great for that. Just a little plugin, but it's like a pretty, it has all the basic things like and like the layers and stuff. So
Yeah, that's very true. Like, if you get on a Magma board and you start painting with other people, then like I've absorbed a lot of stuff from painting with so many people. I freaking love the fact that we've been doing these Magma streams, Masae, with other artists and such, because like it influences you and inspires you. Like Zach Retz with his pencil, painting with a pencil, or um, Iris Muddy painting like with a very dark background and doing that beautiful, super saturated frog, various things like this has kind of fed into me and made me want to try those things, adopt those things. Yeah, it's really changed my painting.
Yeah, watching people paint, you start picking up things that you feel like will work for you, because obviously not everything is going to work for each individual. So I think being a bit open to that exploration might help a bit.
Another thing is to just take time to think about the artist that you strive to be, because so many of us, we go from like one job to the next or something like that, and we have so many things going on in our lives that we don't actually take the time to think, is this the direction I want to go in? What is the kind of artist that you want to be?
Yeah.
Bobby, I have a question relating to what you said just now. So I was wondering about like a career path. So I'm really invested into character design right now, but I'm also like I really want to explore composition and background drawing. So do you have any advice about like how to maintain like um, the need to explore and to um, seek out like different information from different artists and different approaches to like maintaining like um, a career path,
I have
like a one. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think I have trouble with the opposite of like wanting to do too many things. And I gotta slow myself down and go, no, don't start another thing, Bobby. Stick to this and stay on this until you get good at it before you move on to something else. I feel like nowadays, the main obstacle now is staying concentrated on something. Before it was like, getting the info, we don't have enough opportunities, we don't have enough choices. Now it's like you have a million opportunities. You can play video games as a career, you can do TikTok as a career, so now it's like all about honing in and sticking to a limited amount of choices before going into other choices. That's been my issue. But Masae, have you had any issues with trying to, find the thing that you want to do next, or or like your take on this person's question?
I feel like I agree with what you say about kind of staying focused. And what I learned and what I thought it was really, really cool is you start realizing a lot of the things that we learn in art kind of like have the same basic information or basic fundamentals, like character design and background painting, like learning about the like contrast and values and proportion and all that. And once you really focus on one thing and you feel really confident and comfortable with that area, once you start learning the other thing, things kind of just like the information flow a bit better because you start relating things to each other. So for me it's like starting slow and then picking up the pace later on would be my advice.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a slow learner. I gotta really think about whatever it is I'm trying to learn, break it all down, which takes a long time, into like the bare essence of it, and then rebuild it in my own way so that it makes sense to me. I think that's why I can be effective in painting or teaching, because I have to break it down for myself to understand it. So it makes it a lot easier for me to explain to other people what I'm thinking of, what I'm doing. But yeah, like I think one thing I've seen a lot is when people give up before they get good at the thing. You could get good at pretty much everything. Maybe you can't get amazing at something, right? Genius levels at something, but we can all get good at something. And I feel like if you strive to at least get good at the thing that you're learning, the thing that you're striving for currently, before you switch to another thing, that's the ticket. That's the ticket right there, because even if you don't like backgrounds, maybe, right? And you get to the point where you get good at it, good enough to, get a job, get an entry-level job in it or something like that. And then decide, yeah, backgrounds, it's not for me. I like vehicles or whatever. At least now you've taken something, you've developed these skills in that thing, and you could take that with you to the next thing. So it doesn't become a waste of time, and you'll find all these similarities of what you learned with one aspect that totally applies to another aspect. If you just try for like a month or two and then you give up and you move on, you go, that's not for me, that I feel can be a very big waste of time. If you just stuck to it a little bit longer and then leave, at least you're leaving with something. I don't think we did a very good job of answering this person's question, but I hope that helped other people that might have the
I appreciated that.
Me too. It didn't quite answer, but it gave me a lot of different answers to different stuff I was wondering about as well. So
Okay, perfect. I'm so glad.
I have a question, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of going on the other side of what person a few minutes ago was asking about, the 10 hours of work. Flip side, I kind of work 2 jobs, and that I come home at like 8 o'clock at night. I still want to get into animation art industry. So for me, it's more like 2 or 3 hours of work. So my question is, like, how do you distill, like, okay, what is it that I need to learn in order to get to where I want, while still being able to work within this time frame. So
Totally.
how do you kind of like figure out that process of discerning what you need to learn?
Let's dig in, you know. So what is it that you want to learn, you think? What kind of art do you want to be good at?
Well, I want to be definitely into like the character design, more character design stuff. I want to be able to do, like, go and into a show and and come up with like a really cool world and stuff. I really want to go into either making shorts or working on like PBS style shows, like for like younger kids. So
Okay.
that's kind of.
Okay, very cool. And what are your two jobs?
I do graphic design, and I do graphic design for my local college, doing flyers and posters and some animation. And then the other one, I work in retail. So it's kind of like at least part of it. One of them is creative. The other one's kind of more like regular retail stuff. So.
Okay, so then the retail stuff, you're on your feet all the time. I ask this because, like when I think back, if I had to do everything over again and I had no skills and I need a job, I would try to get a job like in a gas station, as a concierge or something like that, where there would be downtime where I could scribble some stuff and do some drawings, hide them at work, like that kind of thing. But since it doesn't seem like you have that freedom there, one thing that you'll see you'll see change in your art pretty quickly is if you take that little bit of time that you have to actually do some drawing and stuff. First, spend that time collecting a bunch of really awesome art of the kind of stuff that you want to do. And then second, pick one at a time, just one, and learn how to draw that. First, trace it. The whole entire act of tracing is actually quite valuable because you'll force yourself to do different shapes, different decisions than you usually do. And then after that, I would trace it in a way where I'm thinking, okay, tomorrow, right in the morning, I have to draw this straight out of my head before I leave for work or whatever. If it's like more like a UPA kind of style, then that won't take a super long time. You could do a little sketch or whatever. But the idea is this is what I would do. Memorize it, being able to draw it forwards, backwards, mirror image, and then start to change it. Do your own versions of it. The thing had arms, make it have wings. The thing didn't have a mustache, now it has a mustache. It used to be a woman, now it's a man, and so on and so forth. And then learn another one, and another one. And when you learn new art, and you learn it in a way where you're learning to be able to do it without looking after, you're really, really internalizing this and making it part of your own repertoire of like art knowledge, art skills. And when you start to learn a third, a fourth, you'll start to see similarities between that thing and the first thing, or the second thing, and so on and so forth. And then you get into slightly different styles and things like that. You'll start to see similarities there as well. And every time you try
डिस्कॉर्ड पे तो ये हर हफ्ते मतलब 3-4 दिन में वो करते हैं लोग.
Oh,
9 to
maybe awesome. So, you see where I'm going with that. So there you go.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in an art store that wasn't doing very well. And so in between serving customers, I was able to sit down and sketch in my sketchbook. which is great because I could show customers, you know, how materials were used and what you could do, which helped promote, you know, the products or whatever. But my skills at sketching got really good because the business did really badly because I had time to draw. So the key is to find a business that maybe doesn't do so well, but it's good for you, so you've got time. But then the store ended up closing down. I was a good sales assistant, but there was just no customers. Anyway, that's my advice.
That's hilarious.
Just
I
I put
love
my
it.
2 cents in. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I had this data manager job where I would take files of different animation, different artwork for these different shows. These big hard drives would get sent to us from like Ireland, India, wherever, and I'd have to look at the files and copy them to the right departments. So that copying process took a while, and I would draw. And then when my supervisor was like, I don't know, it wasn't a supervisor, it was a senior artist. It's like, what are you doing? You can't draw this stuff here. Like, and took away my pencil and just gave me a pen to draw with. That is why I do these elaborate pen drawings. That's the origin, you know, because I was doing them at work.
I love it. You took away my pencil. I'll just use whatever else there is.
Exactly. You know, take away that, you start to just use your imagination. How would you draw this scene? Right?
Finding time, like I've heard the phrase like invisible time. So finding time in between, you know, times where you're busy, kind of.
Oh, there's so much time in between tasks. That's a huge one. That transition from one task to another, how long does it really take you? You know, if you really look, many times it takes you like maybe half an hour just to go from one thing to another. I gotta make some coffee. I take a little break. I'm gonna look at my, you know, Instagram. Oh, there's some messages. I gotta reply to so and so. Oh, but I didn't reply to Roberto, and he's gonna be pissed because I replied to Shelly, and you know, so on and so forth. And then before you know it, it's like 20 minutes went by.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's very true. I gotta keep an eye on that. All right. Thank you so much. Oh,
You're welcome.
Hi, I wanted to ask one more thing.
Sure.
Sure.
I wanted to know if, because you were talking about journaling and things like that, it reminded me of a book by Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, and I wanted to know if either Masae or you, Bobby, know about the book by any chance?
Masae, have you heard of the book? The
No,
Artist's
but
Way.
I'm Googling it right now.
It's a very interesting book because it has like a philosophical and almost like religious way of looking at art and like how you develop yourself as an artist in this like I don't know, like artist god thing. It's kind of philosophical in its regard, but it's a very, very interesting book because it has a lot of practices that help you develop like a more creative view of the world and of what you're doing. And it reminded me of that because you were talking about journaling. One of the more important like things that the book teaches is the daily pages. It's called, and it's like writing 3 pages a day of anything that is happening. You know, either of something that you're thinking or something that you did, or you know, something that you want to do. And supposedly that helps you to develop, you know, that creative side of your brain to just like keep that constant rhythm of creativity happening.
Oh,
So yeah,
That's awesome.
interesting. Yeah, I haven't done that. Most of my journaling is just typing. It's just like words, but I've been wanting to get like an actual journal where I could paste in stuff and like draw stuff. But I know I don't have time. I would love to do that though. Hopefully soon I could find some time to start that.
Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah, the Artist's Way. I wrote it down. I put Artist's Way dash lookup book. So it's in the vault. I'm gonna check it out.
Thanks.
Shall we go on to a Slido question? This one comes from, let's go to the person that put in their name. This comes from Kim. Do you always envision and focus on what you want to learn while doing a study, or is it okay to just do many blindlessly too? Or is it a waste of time? I don't think it's a waste of time, but it's just more enjoyable, less effective, perhaps. What do you think, Masae?
I think focus helps. Just to it's that whole thing about when we were talking about the 10,000 hours, but it's really about like what you're putting your time in. So I think even though doing mindless stuff, you'll get a bit of mileage, but I think just having that mindset will take you a bit further in the long run. But definitely not a waste of time for either things.
Yeah, agree.
And sometimes it does take like that motion of doing mindless studies is what helps you start figuring out like, oh, okay, this is what I need to focus because I don't really understand it. So yeah, I think both are great ways.
There is something there too about the mindless. Like I don't like the term mindless because you're not mindless. You are thinking of stuff. You're going through the process and you are drawing and painting or whatever, but maybe just not with an absolute objective, right? But at the same time, I found there's huge benefit in allowing yourself to go through what I would say as like kind of like bored kind of times, right? Where you're just drawing, you're just painting, whatever. I think, yeah, majority of my best ideas came from when I was quote unquote bored, where I'm just sitting there staring off, into the world and just watching it. Yeah. Like Schoolism, I remember just staring off, looking over at this view of like looking through the forest, over the forest, and then downtown. I remember just looking there, and for some reason, Schoolism popped in my head. Lightbox Expo, very much same kind of thing, just brainless. Yeah, bored moments. Allow yourself to be bored. Put away that phone. I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I guess because you're bored, you're not really forcing yourself to think of ideas or like focus on something.
Yeah, being okay with being bored. That is great. Really, really great. Like, sometimes if I'm waiting in a parking lot or whatever, I don't look at my phone. I purposely don't look at my phone and I just stare. I just stare out into the, into life, right? And just stare.
I guess it's fun, like seeing things that you're normally not blind to, but you kind of just like it's just like it's phased out of your mind, like little details.
Yeah, I feel like it's like I picture almost like this this tube of just stuff, going through, and that's our consciousness, right? And everything that we're thinking about is just more and more stuff going through this tube, and this tube never gets a break. You know, give it a break. Let that water go through, let it kind of clean everything out, just stare, and let these new wonderful things come into your mind.
Yeah.
That was the sound in the background.
The flushing sound.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Great. A great way to start a Monday.
Yeah, and you know what? Can I just mention something I was thinking about? Because I love to meditate and just stare and just be, and especially in the very, very mornings. And this morning I was just thinking about Zach Retz, how much I look up to his art nowadays, and remembering when he was a student, remembering when nobody knew him, and I met him for the first time, right? And he's this very eager artist. And then later on, I did a Schoolism interview with him. Later on, he worked for all of these big films and all this stuff. And before, he was just a listener. He was just a on the outside kind of thing. And then there's so many others. Iris Compete. Everybody knows Iris and her beautiful fairies now and everything. The Dark Crystal. Brian Froud knows her. She's worked with all these amazing people. Guillermo del Toro asked her for some artwork, this and that. But I also remember when I met this very friendly, super tall woman with dreads at the time, green dreads in London, at a London Schoolism live workshop. Just trying to do her thing, trying to break into the industry. And she actually told me that after I talked with her, I really kind of felt it from her, the energy, the chutzpah that you need to really kick some butt in this industry. And I told her, I feel like one day you will be on the stage, doing a Schoolism workshop. And then, years later, she was. I just wanted to kind of bring that up because it's such a wonderful kind of feeling and thought to have this morning, where it's just like a star can really come in any sorts of like shapes and forms, so like don't let anyone tell you differently, no matter where you are in this world right now listening to this. A lot can happen.
That's so awesome to hear. And I just want to add one thing with Iris. I know, I don't know if you know, but she's now working on a project for Netflix too, like visual development job, something.
Look at that.
That would be
That's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And her
I
quote
saw-
was never to give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
Aw.
But
Yeah,
it
the story is
happens.
great.
Yeah, and it's like time makes that stuff happen. Like that's the number one ingredient is stay in the game, right? And just if you stay in the game long enough, you're putting in that effort, you're playing the game, you're doing your thing, trying to learn, trying to get better. Even if you are good enough right now and nobody's letting you in, that's okay. Keep going, keep striving, keep putting yourself out there, because there is a point where the world will have no choice but to notice you. They have to, because you kept going. You kept going way past when other people stopped. Even if you live in some place where you don't deem that as the best place to be an artist. Right now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I remember hearing her stories of struggling with Kickstarter and having to do like, was it 400 drawings or something for the inside of her book? And I'm like, oh my goodness. I think she actually had to have a rest because her hand was starting to hurt.
Oh,
And,
right.
Well, I'm sure she didn't
but
think that her
she
Kickstarter would have been that successful as it was.
no, and then
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that led to her oh, was it before the Brian Froud, and because she did a couple.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah, she's a athlete in the art world. Like she's got endurance.
Oh,
Definitely.
and just a beautiful human being, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've known each other for many years now, and she's never changed, you know. Like some people, I see them change as well, you know, and they get a little better and things like that. It's like, yeah, but she doesn't.
It seems like from the get-go she's always had that like great mindset and like you know, just being a good person in general, and
Yes.
that also says something about, you know, people who become more successful like out of nowhere. Like from the beginning they were just good people.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, there's one guy, or there's a person I knew when the person was starting off, and the person was really nice and all that stuff. And then later on, you know, it's successful, this and that. I remember, you know, the person liked my stuff and was kind of like a fan or whatever. And then later on, it's like, oh, you have to give me like, you know, like 5 months notice, 4 months notice if you want to talk to me. I'm like, who the hell does that? All right, I guess I won't talk to you anymore.
What?
Yeah.
That is
weird.
bizarre.
But hey, it's great as well because it's nice to be able to filter out that kind of relationship, you know, those kind of people. So, yeah. You know, sometimes you gotta trust your instincts. Not everybody is also as they seem, especially if you have something to offer them. Not to say that this person, whatever, but people can change.
Mm-hmm. But it's also good to, you know, give benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
It'll make you feel a bit better of not like feeling certain ways.
Oh, totally. I'm so glad you said that because it might sound like I'm all jaded and shit, and I don't. I still love, you know, I strongly believe in staying open to meeting new people, this and that, because in the end, the bad ones, the ones that won't work out for you, they kind of filter themselves out anyways. You know, they expose themselves or they filter themselves out. They might take advantage of you at a certain point, but you think about all the other people, all the other things that were good because you stayed open, and you'll see that it's still very much worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't give them the keys to your house or nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like, have some control.
Yeah, don't give them your social insurance number.
Yeah.
Personal information. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything? We got about 10 minutes left or so.
I think I have one. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of thought of it because of the meeting other artists and stuff, but and I don't know if it's too early to think about it just yet. But the Schoolism live workshops. Is there like a plan in the future, maybe far future, where there's already maybe yeah, when do you think they will be able to be there again?
Oh, like in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, the whole pandemic thing.
Oh
But
yeah.
The
yeah,
location and artists.
I think I want to travel again once it's like cool to travel and do some workshops and such. How do you feel, Masae? Do you feel like less inclined, or I guess right now, but in the future?
Yeah, in the future for sure. I think depends on location and how long and when. Maybe not in the next year, but like hopefully in a couple years.
What
But
is a memorable um what's a memorable story or situation or whatever that you had at a schoolism workshop?
I mean, of course, there's that Dubai workshop, the Doom Buggy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think getting to meet attendees that actually come to multiple workshops, that's pretty memorable too.
Yeah.
Like like Lyndon was one of them. He would just like keep coming and I'm like, wait a minute, weren't you there? And also like helpers as well. It's kind of nice, and especially to hear like to see them grow
Oh
as an
my
artist.
gosh. For some reason you reminded me of this time, I think it was Seattle, right? And there's a nice little posse of us of like maybe 10 people, 12 people or so, instructors, helpers, whatever. And we're clearing out, gonna go have dinner. And there's this person that's still there, right? And this person doesn't know anybody, can barely speak English. He's Korean. He's from Korea. He flew there to Seattle just for the Schoolism workshop. I don't know if you ever heard this one, Masae. I don't know if you were there.
I was there.
You were
Yeah,
there.
he was so nice.
And so he cobbled together a few sentences, pretty much telling us that all his friends thought he was crazy for doing this, for flying all that way and all this stuff, but he wants to be an artist so bad, he just did it anyways. And so we're like, all right, you're coming with us, right? And we invited him to dinner and invited him to hang out, made sure we took lots of pictures for his friends, hang out with the instructors and drinking with us and all that stuff. That was a memorable story.
Yeah, I do remember that. His first time out of Korea. I love it.
And the other story that I want to repeat just because it's such a cool freaking story was Schoolism Florence. One of the first times that we did Schoolism Florence, we invited Anthony Jones and Luis Gonzalez as instructors. And so we do the presentation, everything goes great. We have dinner, having pizza in Italy. How much better could it get? We get out and we're gonna head towards this bar, and just this little bar or whatever. We start walking, and Florence, the area of Florence is relatively small. So a couple people, they peer their heads out and they're like, "Hey, Bobby, Louie, where are you going?" And then we look over and we're like, "Oh, yeah, we're going to the bar. Just finished dinner." And then they're like, "Can we come with you?" And then we're like, "Yeah, sure, come along." And then so these two people are walking with us, and we're walking towards the bar. I turn around, one's on their phone, keep walking, turn around 5-10 minutes later, whatever, and there's 6 of them. I'm like, okay, cool. Keep walking, turn around again. There's 20 of them. Keep walking, get to the bar, there's 60 of us. And this is a tiny little bar. We shut this bar down, just full of Schoolism students and stuff like that, Schoolism attendees, drinking, laughing, having great conversations, and then close down the bar, end up in front of this beautiful church, drinking till like 5, 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and lost track of time. I see the time, I'm like, oh my God, AJ and Louis' flights are in like an hour, and we've been drinking for like 5, 6 hours straight. I turn over, I look at Louis. Louis is speaking Italian somehow. He doesn't even speak Italian, but he does at 5 in the morning and a bottle of tequila later or whatever. Get him on the plane, and they got home safe, and everything is great.
That's amazing. It's like a scene from a movie where people are walking and then more and more just like
instant party.
awesome.
That was amazing.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Bobby, that was an epic story, by the way. Epic.
Oh. Well, you know what? In Florence, after that, we continued the tradition. So every year when we went to Florence, that's what we do. And we'd shut down this bar. This bar is way too small for us, but we'd just pack in and just get crazy, have a lot of fun, and then end up at the church drinking, just hang out with everybody. Good times. Good times.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in a year or two, you can go back to Florence and continue that tradition.
Yeah, next year. I would love to. I'd love to. Any other questions or anything? Anything else anybody want to speak about?
Oh, hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Hi. I was wondering if you have any other advice to keep like production at max, such as journaling or meditation.
Oh, productivity, you mean, right?
Yeah, like advice for keeping productivity at max.
Like, well, okay, so to-do lists. My to-do list.
I was just thinking that.
My to-do list has some rules, right? Usually to-do lists tell you what should be done, but doesn't tell you what the next step is. It's like you have clean out the garage, and then you go into the garage and you see this giant refrigerator in the garage, and it's in front of everything else that you need to get out of there. The refrigerator is broken, so you need to throw that out as well. What do you usually do? We usually look at all that giant mess, and then we close the door and we go back inside, right? Because it's like, how are you going to tackle this thing? So all the actions on your to-do list, you want to make sure the things that you put on the to-do list are actually actions of how you can get that thing accomplished even more. So you need to clean out the garage. The thing on your list should not be clean out the garage, because like I said, I just went through that. So you want to put down something that you could easily do. That's the number one rule, that you could easily do, and that you could easily do in a day, in a work day. Usually the things I put on my to-do list do not surpass 2 hours, right? So what's something that I could do to help clean out that garage? It's not to get rid of refrigerator. How am I going to do that? Perhaps it's to look up getting rid of appliances kind of service, right? And look that up on the internet. That's something that you could do easily. So put all those things down of, the next actions, as opposed to the next things you'd like to accomplish or whatever. You want to put down how you can accomplish them, and then give them various levels of importance. So I do low priority, medium priority, and high priority. So say you have things in your list that were low priority. That's fine. Keep them low priority. But every day, look at it, seriously look at it, seriously think about it, and seriously think, should this still be low priority? There will be a point where you either take it off your list, or you increase the priority, or you finish that thing. But to have those various priorities helps, because if you have a lot of things on your list, it's like, what do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? I generally only keep at the maximum 2 things in high priority. That's pretty thorough. I think that should answer a lot of things. Oh, another rule that I have to being highly productive is make sure you don't have to remember anything. If there's anything that you need to remember, I feel like it causes stress, and also it takes up space where like a good idea could have came in your head but can't, because there's no space for it.
Yeah. Coming up with that system. And that's, I guess, like the laying out everything from like the micro stuff. That's also like freeing up your brain space too. So
Yeah.
it's the system that helps with productivity.
Can I comment on that real quick?
Sure, yeah.
Sure.
Bobby, the things that you just said, just to add up to the book list, there's another book that actually says almost exactly what you just said, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And a wonderful book about exactly what you just said and how to, make that list as productive as possible for your daily tasks. So just like something to add up to that.
Cool.
I love that book.
Yeah, I feel like I've read it, but I've read a lot of kind of organizational and productivity kind of books. But I feel like the best thing is just to read a ton about that subject and then see what gels with you. What do you want to keep? What do you want to switch out for somebody else's idea, or perhaps your own? Because I also know that my way of organizing is not for everybody, because different people will have different kind of levels that they need of organization. So that's a thing as well. Yeah. All right, so we're all done our squirrels, I think. Any comments that you'd like to make about your squirrel creature?
Probably your squirrel kind of came out like a thug.
It's like, don't mess with them.
Yeah.
I saw in the comments somewhere, this was probably a while back, but someone was saying it looks like my squirrel stole that hazelnut from Bobby's squirrel, and now Bobby's squirrel is like upset about it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hi, yes.
Hi, I just wanted to have a words to say thank you to you, Bobby, because the first time you were in Firenze, I was there, and actually Luis, he gave me the idea to begin to start a career as a storyboard artist, and since then I have tried to do that, and right now I'm working on TV show. So thank you for that.
It all comes back.
Amazing.
That's awesome. And congrats.
It is, you know what, sometimes it really is just about, like, when you meet that person, when you meet those people that are doing the things that you want to do, it just makes it all of a sudden click a lot of times, and it makes you feel like, okay, now I can see the road. Now I can see the path to getting towards that place. It's happened to me many times in the past. Very, very fortunate to have that happen. And it seems like that's what happened to you as well with Louis.
That's the case. So thank you for that.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, and that actually is a good kind of segue just to remind everybody tomorrow on Discord and on Clubhouse, we have one of my own artistic heroes is going to be joining us, Oddworld creator Lauren Lanning. That is going to be so good and such an amazing opportunity. So I hope everybody can take advantage of that. And I think that's it, right? So yeah, for mine, I made him fold his arms and kind of look a little upset, lost its nut. Did you have anything that you want to mention about, or anything else that you want to mention about yours, Masae?
This was fun. I realized I made my scene dark, but I guess it works because everything is unified. I do wish I made it a bit brighter, but overall, it was a fun one. It was a fun, relaxing one.
It's not bad for 90 minutes. You know, we both have pretty complete illustrations here, I'd say. All right, everybody. Well, that's the stream for today. So I hope everybody had a great time. And there's nothing left to do except to thank our awesome Discord community, our mods in Discord. Thank you so much. Jamie Marshall, my amazing assistant in YouTube, and my co-host. Thank you, Masae, for being awesome. Take care, everybody, and hope to see you tomorrow on Clubhouse or Discord. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
Here, thank you.